All right, we're here at March 8th. A beautiful day here in South Georgia. Take a pan around the woods, Debbie. Just turn all the way around and show where we are and what we're doing. There's a cherry tree that has been blown over back here, and I believe the wood is still good in it. So I'm going to attempt to cut it into about a 16-foot piece and drag it out of here up to the sawmill. And we'll see how it goes. All right, I didn't expect it to move that way, but okay. We got that much done. Now to hook it to the tractor and try to pull it. This will not reach far enough, so I'll have to back the tractor up. raise it up and put a block under it. got it up now. Take a picture out there. The deer are used to us feeding them, and they are wondering, why are you doing that to that log when we are needing some food? This log has rotted some on the sapwood, but come here and show this. This right here has started to decay a little bit, but this heart is still really good. And probably we'll get a pretty decent heartwood piece out of that down there. Now, I should have gotten this log a year or two ago, but that's the way it goes with me. I don't always do what I should do, but I did get it now. Better late than never is what they say. Now, I'd like to mention my master, Yeshua the Messiah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, why don't you just show the deer instead of showing me, and then I'll make my little spiel. It is my job to go and tell anybody that will listen about Jesus. Now, if you want to find out for yourself about Jesus, the best way to do it is to read it in the New Testament, the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I can recommend that. That's the best way. But if you're not inclined to do that, watching videos on YouTube is good. There's an awful lot of people out there that are I say preaching the gospel, or attempting to find the lost sheep, is the way that Jesus put it. I've been having some very interesting conversations on my videos, on my comments, because I made a couple of videos about atheism. I called it Calling All Atheists. And I got an awful lot of response. Well, somebody told me, why are you doing that? All you're getting is grief. They're calling you names, arguing with you. And the reason I'm doing it is because how do I know that some of those atheists will not eventually be able to see who Christ really is? I was one of those myself. Now, one of the big comments is prove that God exists. It can't be done. If it could be proven that God exists, then I guess everybody would believe. The very fact that it can't be proven shows that, it's up to us whether to believe or not. Now, God did give evidence. And somebody said, why doesn't God show himself to us? Well, guess what? He did. He came to earth 2,000 years ago, caused himself to be born as a human child, and when he became of age, that would be the age to be allowed to preach, he did. He came out, Jesus came. He proclaimed himself to be the Messiah. He worked miracles. He only did good. Nobody ever said he did anything wrong. Even when the priest tried to say he did wrong, he challenged them, show me where I've done wrong. And they couldn't do it. The only thing they could come up with, the only thing, is that he was healing people on the Sabbath day. And Jesus pointed out to them that they practiced the surgery of circumcision on the 6th day, or maybe it's the 8th, I'm not sure, of a child's life, whether it fell on the Sabbath or not. So they did that, But he said, look, you guys do circumcision, which is actually taking away from the wholeness of a man. And I come in here on the Sabbath and make a man completely well, healing them of all kinds of things, even raising several people from the dead. So God did show himself to us. But because of the hardness of our hearts, our human nature, our fleshly nature, we, and I'll say we because I was in that category, we killed him. God did show himself to us, and we thanked him by killing him. Now, he did prove who he was. People saw it. But even though he proved that he had command over creation and life and death, they still killed him because they couldn't see it. That was not enough proof to them. So I say to those skeptics that say, why doesn't God show himself? He did. And we hung him on a cross and killed him. And 3 days later, he came back to life and showed himself, another proof, to hundreds of people in his risen form. And those people, the disciples, that they didn't believe he was going to be raised from the dead either. He had told them a bunch of times, but they knew he was a great teacher and all, but they couldn't imagine that he was going to be crucified. And whenever he showed them, they saw him crucified. They knew he was dead. But then when he showed himself, they became real believers. And they went out all over the world and proclaimed that Jesus was the Messiah and that he was God in the flesh. Now that's the proof that God gave to us. But that proof is not enough for everybody. But if I didn't tell you about it, I don't guess you would know what Jesus said. Jesus claimed to be God in no uncertain terms. And he claimed that if you would believe and recognize him for who he was, ask him to save you, that you would be one of those that would be raised to eternal life in the resurrection of the dead. So that's the job that I'm doing. Jesus didn't tell me to make you believe it. That's not my job. My job is just to tell you about him, tell you what he said. It's up to you to believe it or not. A certain number of you out there are going to eventually have an epiphany and realize, hey, that guy was God. I better do what he said. He said that the works that he wants you to do is to believe in him. And he also gave us another very simple command, and that is to love one another even as I have loved you. That is the whole law right there. That's all we have to do. And how are you going to do that? You're just going to take every situation that comes up that has any question to it, and you're just going to say, how would I like to be treated in this situation? And you're going to do it, even if you don't like it. Okay, that's the gospel in a nutshell right there. And I'm going to drag this thing out. Not going to get a great deal out of cherry lumber out of this, but see, this southern cherry like we have here, when it dries, it turns a maroon reddish color. Very beautiful and very useful to make certain things. We use it to make spoons, forks, spatulas, cutting boards. There's another word for that cutting board that I can't remember. What do they call that? Kind of a fancy word. Charcuterie. Isn't that a charcuterie board? Mm-hmm. That's another way of saying a cutting board. But we don't cut down any trees out here that are alive. We just take care of the ones that fall down. All right. That's what I've got to say. If you disagree with me, I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you. I want you to tell me what you think, and I'll tell you what I think in a respectful way. It doesn't do any good to call people idiots, but I have been called that several times here lately and had my intelligence questioned. I try very hard not to answer an insult with another insult. I try to answer with love. I don't always succeed now, but I try, and I'm working on it. I guess you notice when somebody comes back to me and calls me an idiot, I just say thank you for watching and thank you for your comment. And that's responding in a loving way. I'm not going to get into name calling. Name calling is not a proper way to defend your argument. I would say people revert to name calling when they have a pretty weak argument. Think about that. All right, this is Gardener Israel signing off.